Welcome to Sports Talk with Steve Jones, the daily talk show with the voice of Penn State football and men's basketball. You never know what special guest may stop on by any given day. Now here's the man of the hour, Mr. Steve Jones.
Great to be with you. We are made a big decision here at the broadcast facility of Champions to put together a GoFundMe page. We think it's the only way we can get you to cut your hair.
I'll tell you, that's it might even be styled then. It's you go all out, full-fledged.
You styled would be I think people would faint.
They might.
Especially women. Whoa, look at this. How about that? He is coiffed and styled. Oh,
styling and profiling.
That is you. All right. We'll start with the NCAA basketball tournament. As I've said, look, if they're going to expand, just go to 76 right away. Don't fool around with 72 because you want 76 to begin with.
Absolutely.
There's going to be a lot of whining, moaning, and complaining about it, and you're going to see the vast majority of opinions negative on this move on this particular day. Let me tell you when you're not going to find it negative. You're not going to find it negative on the Tuesday and Wednesday after the conference tournaments, and they're leading into the round of 64.
Mm-hmm.
People will watch. People will wager.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay? And that's when you'll see, it's not that bad. There'll be a lot of complaining about, who are teams 77 through 84? 76 is too many. You're going to hear a lot of this over and over again. Do I move it? No, I don't move it. I would have looked at everybody and said, hey, look, let's keep it at 68. This works, and it's great. But at the same time, I also am realistic enough to know that you're going to, what you're essentially doing is you're taking the tournament from 19% of teams playing in the NCAA to 21%. That's what you're doing. You're taking, the NHL has 50%. The NBA has 67% because those play-in games are like the first four, aren't they?
Sure.
Right. They have 67%. The NFL now has 14 out of 32, which is what, 43%?
Yeah.
At least right around that area. 43%.
Yeah, 40, yeah.
Okay. Major League Baseball has what now? They have 3 wild cards, 3 championships. They have 12?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. So they have 12 out of 30. No. They're at what, 25%? Yeah. This is where we are.
Sure.
Or otherwise, it may be 30%. I think it might be 12 out of 30 is what, 30% or something like that, whatever it is. But this is...
Yeah, might be actually 12 out of 30. Might actually be closer to 40. 15 be 50, so it'd be almost 40%.
Yeah, it's 40%.
Yeah.
So 40% of baseball, Major League Baseball gets in. 67% of the NBA gets in. 50% of the NHL gets in. 43% of the NFL gets in. Okay? And you have 21% of the NCAA getting in. Under 76, as opposed to 19. College football is the toughest. And college football right now is the toughest because you're talking about 9% right now getting in. So if you expand to 24, that Tony Petitti's talking about, you're at 18%. Your percentage is still exponentially lower than everybody else. It's lower than the NFL by 24, 25 percentage points. Yeah. Even at 16% would be 12%. Or 16 teams would be 12%.
Yeah.
So I'm just doing percentages here. Well, now, wait a minute. That's the Power Four. You're including look, you're Division I, you're Division I. Last I checked, 2 of the 12 teams last year that made it into the college football playoff were group of 6. Right? Why were they in? They were in because they were the highest-ranked conference champions. Oh, and by the way, they're part of the 136 that are FBS. I mean, you can win the Mid-American Conference, have a perfect record, you're going to get in.
Yeah, absolutely.
So there'll be a lot of opinions between now and the official coronation of this. There are committees they have to go through. So what's the idea of this? The idea is simple. We know it's money.
Oh, it's no question.
Okay? But, just so everybody understands, that's the reason I've talked about going to 76, not because I'm in favor of it. I'd keep it at 68. I think 68 works. I think 68 excites people, right? The whole thing, all right? So I wouldn't have gone past 68. If I'm in the room and I vote, boom, I would have voted 68. All right. But I also understand that when the House settlement came up, remember what the terms of the House settlement happened to be. The terms of the House settlement is that athletes from 2016 to 2023, 24 get back pay. 60% of the money comes out of NCAA reserves. Where does the other 40% over the next 10 years come out? NCAA basketball tournament distributions. Right? Again, you've got to be able to put together all the pieces of the puzzle as to why things are happening. It's a money grab. They're trying to keep everybody's head above water here by doing this, because you are not going to get you're not going to get money from any other source. There's no other source the NCAA can get money from. Zero. Except this tournament. That's the only way that they can increase their revenues, is the men's basketball tournament. There is no other source that can do that. The college football playoff, they are not a part of. The college football playoff is independent. The college football playoff is incorporated. And the new deal, everybody's getting more money out of it. Big Ten will get approximately $21 million per school starting this upcoming season. The SEC gets about 22 to 23. Why do they get more? Okay, do the math. One conference has 18 schools, so you got to divide up the pie 18 ways. The other conference has 16, thus they get the same numbers, but they have fewer mouths to feed, and thus, okay, just math. I mean, again, I'm trying to explain the math of this. So now we get to this. The back pay portion of this, 60% comes out of reserves, 40% of it comes out of NCAA tournament distribution. The smaller conferences are the ones that get hurt the most in this. So if you can get an influx of cash, a little bit more in there to at least help balance the numbers out a bit, that's one of the reasons you do it. Charlie Baker's been pushing hard on this. Not everybody in the NCAA has been on board, right? Because, I mean, there'll be logistical issues that you have to deal with. Number one, you have to get a second site. The second site is either going to be in one of three places: the Central Time Zone, the Mountain, or the Pacific. It will not be in the East, because Dayton is going to continue to be one of the opening sites for the opening round. So you want to spread the wealth and put it in a different part of the country. So you have to select the site. Number two, an area where the NCAA has struggled a bit in the last 2-3 years in terms of logistics has been with charters. That has been a big issue for them, trying to deal with charters, to get enough charters to get teams in and out of sites. So now you're talking about adding 8 more schools. Well, that means you have to, if you're within 4 hours of the site, you have to bus. Okay, that's the rule now. So this year, who had the opening round? Greensboro?
Yeah.
For example, Duke and North Carolina both bust. They didn't fly, they bust. Okay? Because that's the rule. But everybody else, you have to get charters. I can tell you the number of charters over the last few years, the number hasn't gone up, the number has gone down.
Yeah.
Schools fight very hard now to get charters for their teams. It takes a lot of work to do it. Well, the NCAA is in the same boat. Who do you get charter-wise? Then after that, the hotels and so forth, on one site, they'll be able to handle that because part of the bidding is going to be to have enough hotels to do it. You have to have a minimum of 4 hotels, and idealistically, it wouldn't hurt your cause if you had 8. But you have to have at least 4 where you can maybe put 2 teams each in there that aren't playing each other. 2 teams that aren't playing each other. So you need 4 hotels. You have to get buses. The bus part you can handle. I mean, communities are really great about getting buses and so forth, the charter teams around. But it's the charter part that is the dicey part. And that's one that people don't realize unless you're involved in it. And so there'll be logistics they'll have to handle. The TV networks are going to get one of 2 things out of this. One, and they're both on the advertising part. One was the ability to have beer advertising in the NCAA tournament. It looks like they're going to get that. And the other one is that they're not going to get is, hey, how about DraftKings? How about FanDuel? How about, they're not going to be allowed to do that. The NCAA is still going to put the clamps on that. But on beer advertising, no. They're going to be allowed to do it. You watch it. You notice there are no beer ads. Have you noticed that?
No, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it took a lot just to get it in the stadium, let alone on the ads on television. Yeah. No question.
But I think the NCAA sounds like they're still going to hold the line on gambling. And I think the Brendan Sorsby case, which has come out this week, has they already had a hardline stance to begin with. I think it reinforced it. I'm not saying whether Brendan Sorsby's innocent, guilty, whatever. I'm just saying the fact that the case is out there and there are allegations. So the networks were not crazy about this because guess what is not in the contract? When they put these contracts together with Turner and with CBS, which, by the way, now, guess what? What happened? Warner Brothers Discovery and Paramount merged. They're now actually one. Okay? So I'll tell you what was not in the contract. An escalator clause. There's not an escalator clause in the contract. For example, the Big Ten has one escalator clause in it. The Big Ten escalator clause is if Notre Dame were to come in the conference. Then there is an escalator clause that automatically kicks in for the networks. That's the only escalator clause they have. In other words, we get them, we get more money. When Oregon and Washington came in, that was not the case because there's no outside of Notre Dame's the only exception on the escalator clause. That's why they went to Fox and they said, Oregon and Washington want to come in. We think it's good for us. Can you at least at half shares each, so in other words, a full share split in 2, they asked Fox to front the money, and Fox did. That's how they did it. So this is, where where do you go from here? Will CBS, in conjunction with Turner, kick in money for the extra games that'll take place? And or do you then talk to the networks and say, we're going to do this. If you're not going to do it and kick in the money, we want to be able to bid it out and maybe go streaming.
Yeah, which I think is a good possibility at some point.
I mean, we'll see. I mean, these games this past year, I think the Dayton games this year drew between 2 and 3 million fans on TV. And I think it was on True TV. Right? So it was able to get 2 to 3 million viewers. I don't know if you can look that up or not. You're playing Minecraft. Well, at least you admitted it.
I would not know the first thing.
I have no idea. I've never in my life. But they had 2 to 3 million viewers. Well, guess what? That's exponentially better then. It's way better than an NBA regular season game, and it's way better than a Stanley Cup playoff game. Stanley Cup regular season, an NHL regular season game. Right?
Sure.
I don't know if you have the numbers there or not.
That's what I'm trying to get them now.
I mean,
yeah, and across 2.8. So across the two nights, 7.5, almost 7.5.
Yeah.
Yep.
Every time I turn around, I have just people like doubts. I mean, that's all. I work around people. All you people do is doubt. It's just hard working in this kind of environment. I mean, because mentally you haven't been the same since Rob Thompson got fired. I had to tell you, it wasn't Kyle Shanahan. Like, okay. So this is, people are, it's a money grab. Here's what's not a money grab. Because there's going to have to be, like, you're going to have to get more out of the men's tournament. It's going to have to be a chunk of money, because here's the issue. Where are you going to lose money?
Yeah.
If you're going to add 8 teams to the men's tournament, what do you have to do with the women's tournament?
Yeah, absolutely.
And guess what?
Yeah. That's going to lose more money.
You're darn right. You're going to lose money.
Yeah.
Okay? It is, by not talking about it, fans are given a perception of economic health in the women's game because people refuse to talk about it. I don't. I mean, I have no problem, like, telling people, okay, here are the numbers. Okay? Because guess what? Guess what the numbers aren't? The numbers are not sexist. Okay? The numbers are not racist. The numbers, numbers are numbers. Revenue, expense. Expense, revenue. Okay? That's what it is. Okay? So, not sitting here putting down the women's tournament. I'm just telling you the economic reality of it. The NCAA women's tournament loses millions of dollars. Sure. I mean, millions of dollars. Why do you think they've gone to 2 regions? They may complain about it, but why do you think they've gone to 2?
Yeah, save money.
Yeah,
as much as you can.
Yeah, it's 2 more.
Sure.
That's 2 more arenas they don't have to rent.
Absolutely.
Okay. And it's not worth it to them. They don't get, it's filled up. That's great. It's filled up. I don't mind. That's great. That's not good. That's great. Has there been a growth in the women's game? Great.
Sure.
Right. But when you're sitting there in a room you have to conduct this like a business person. You have to treat it as a business person. So you have to sit there and say, well, there's certain decisions we're going to have to make here. Because you can't keep throwing it down the bottomless pit. But with Title IX, they're going to have to expand the women's tournament to 76. Well, they're going to have to figure out how they're going to have to handle that. Because, okay, you're going to lose a lot of money. Oh, no, I see it sold out. No, again, you can't. And one thing I don't know with the ESPN contract, which is an all-encompassing all sports contract. I mean, I think that contract that they have where the women's tournament gets, was it $115 million? The women's tournament gets 65.
65, yep.
Right. So you're talking about 55% of the money goes to the women's tournament. But I don't know if there's an escalator in that contract. I would doubt highly there's an escalator in that contract. And it's you have to do it. Title IX, you have to do it. But it does come with a cost. On the men's side, you're going to have to make up for whatever you're doing with all of this by making sure, because by allowing beer as an advertiser, that opens the door for another corporate partner. If you notice, how many corporate partners are there for the NCAA when they do the tournament bracket? There are 3.
3, yep.
Right? They won a 4th. Okay? And a beer sponsorship as a corporate partner. And what's interesting about this is that you've got a lot of people working hard on corporate partners. You know, the person that's kind of like, yeah, whatever, it's Charlie Baker. It's like, no offense, Charlie, maybe you need to pay a little more attention to the corporate partners. But he has a reputation for like, yeah, we're glad you're on board, great. Now, the guy that'll work hard on all this, that will bust his backside to make this whole thing happen, is going to be Dan Gavitt. Dan Gavitt is absolutely universally respected in the sports and basketball world. He's got a lot of the feel for the job that his father had back in the day. Dave Gavitt was one of the great visionaries out there. Dan Gavitt, to his credit, has carved out his own niche and has shown everyone the tremendous, not a good feel, he has a tremendous feel for how to make things work with the NCAA basketball tournament. He solves a lot of problems. The person they're losing in all this is somebody who just retired, who also solved a multitude of problems, and that's Joanne Scott. And she retired. She stayed on 1-2 years longer. I probably talked to her for maybe an hour when she was here for the Nebraska game, Nebraska football game. Her brother played football at Nebraska, so she came out here, and so I talked to her for an hour. I mean, fascinating conversation with her. And I've talked to her many times over the years because we have a close mutual friend that, that over the years, he's always made sure, hey, when she comes to town, right? And Joanne's been great to talk to over the years, over the last, I don't know how many years, 10, 15 years I've talked to her. Deeply involved in all of this, but the NCAA tournament this time was her last one. She's going to be an extremely difficult person to replace. Intelligent, feel for it, understands how it works, why it works, helps make it work. Right? Hard person to replace. I'm sure that they have a lot of confidence in whomever's going to take that spot, but that is, especially in this expansion, she would have been invaluable. Now, I'm sure they're probably calling her up and saying, hey, can we have a little bit of advice? But Dan Gavitt's been planning for this anyway. I mean, you don't just sit there and go, hey, we're going to go to 76. What do we do now? He's known about this for a couple of years now, that it was a possibility. Well, you don't sit there in your office and say, you know what? When it happens, we'll put a plan together. And that's not how it happens. You're sitting there 2 years ago saying, okay, look, they go to 76. Let's go through all the logistical challenges we have to face. Okay, let's make sure that if they decide to do it, we've got our ducks in a row, and then we can start moving because they want to do this season. Okay? When they go to 76, it's going to be in the third week of March is when the NCAA will start on that Tuesday night. You can't start it on Monday. You have to do it Tuesday, Wednesday. Because for all you know, somebody's playing their championship game on Sunday, and they just can't get on a plane and play Monday night.
Exactly.
I can't do that. Including, I mean, you don't know in these conference championship games, suddenly out of nowhere, somebody wins the darn thing. And you're like, they weren't on the board. Okay, well, since they weren't on the board, we got to seed them someplace and send them someplace. And it's not as if the opening round, it will be called the opening round, by the way.
Sure.
It's not as if we have not had an opening round where VCU didn't make it to the Final Four. UCLA made it to the Final Four. It's not as if you have not had deep advancers in the NCAA tournament come out of the opening 2 days of the tournament, because we have. You may not be great teams to begin with, but I can guarantee you in no uncertain terms you are good teams to begin with. You're good. And guess what? When you win the opening game, what do you have? Momentum.
Yeah, sure.
Right? You do. So I think what you're going to see, this will be an issue that will be polarizing until you go through it for a year, and it'll no longer be polarizing. It'll then be accepted as the norm after a year. 1 year from today, it'll be accepted as the norm. Just like if there's an expansion of the college football playoff, there'll be whining, moaning, complaining, gnashing of teeth, the whole thing. Then it happens, and then a year later, nobody's whining, moaning, and complaining or gnashing of teeth. It is accepted as the norm. And that's what they're counting on. I mean, do you think twice? I mean, look, a 7 seed in the NFL playoffs has not played well. 6s have made it to the Super Bowl.
Super Bowl and won it, yeah.
I mean, the Giants, the Packers, the Steelers, all 6s have won the Super Bowl. 7s have not really been that competitive to this point in the NFL playoffs since they've gone to 14-7 in each conference. 7s haven't really been that competitive to this point. At some point they will be, but they really haven't. You can have, for example, in a Stanley Cup, 8 beating 1. Hey, look, the President's Trophy winner doesn't survive a lot of times to get to the Stanley Cup final. You've had an 8 in the Miami Heat make it all the way to the finals against the Denver Nuggets.
Knicks.
Right?
Yep.
We don't talk about the Knicks. Okay.
Well, we don't have to. Yeah, I agree there.
I mean, it's like,
even Knicks without their top star, too, that year.
Yeah, but we don't talk about the Knicks.
We don't have to.
I'm just kidding.
We certainly don't have to talk about the Knicks.
I'm just kidding.
Especially when they're winning the heck.
Yeah, I mean, who wants to do that? But, so it's not as if, I've always said, just get in.
Yeah, sure.
Just get in. And then see how far you can go. I mean, the bottom line is just getting in. So there will be gnashing of teeth. Once it has to go through committees here. But it's, I think, in the next 2 weeks. I mean, it's not going to take that long to do this. But there'll be gnashing of teeth about it. Then, should it survive all these committees they have to go through, which it is expected to happen, they'll make an official announcement. There'll be massive gnashing of teeth over, how can you do this, 68? And again, I'm in the room, I vote to keep it at 68. Okay?
Same.
That's me on this day. But as you see with the transfer portal and with NIL, what have I been over the years? Adaptable. Right? You can give an opinion ahead of time as to what you think it's going to be. But once the decision is made, you roll with it. And what's going to happen is they'll be gnashing of teeth when it's official. Oh, awful, terrible, terrible, terrible. There'll be preseason stories about 76 is bad, right? There'll probably be stories in the season leading up to the selection that 76 is bad. And guess when the discussion on 76 being bad is going to fade into the sunset? After they go through it, see a second arena that's filled up, sees the competition, sees somebody advance out of whatever it happens to be, wherever they play it, right, in the central mountain or western time zone. And then suddenly I know where it's going to fade. And a year from today, it's just going to be part of the landscape and the fabric. I mean, you may have somebody say it's too big, too bloated. You may have somebody say that. It's going to be the same thing with the college football playoff. If they go to 16, I don't think there'll be much gnashing of teeth if it goes to 16.
I wouldn't think so.
But say it went to 24. And again, as I talked to Tony Petitti, right, we talked about I wanted to hear him out as to why on 24. And when you hear him out, it at least gives you pause to think about it. Because he wants to eliminate the conference championship games as part of this and get it started. The FCS is already 24. Do you hear anybody complaining about the FCS being at 24? No. Now, if it goes to 16, I think it'll actually be universally praised. If they go to 24, part of his concept of 24 is the first 2 rounds would have home games.
Yeah. Yeah, right. and I also think at this point we're seeing indications that you're going to see it expand very soon. First of all, you look at next year, probability is going to be you're going to have week 1 earlier by a week,
right?
Which I think is.
And can I point something out about that? Yeah. I'm glad you brought that up. By the way, that GoFundMe page, just go online, check it out. What? I'm glad you brought that up. There is an assumption by some that, is Penn State supposed to next year open with Syracuse?
Yes, I think it's Syracuse. Yep.
That some people have assumed that they'll just move everything up a week, right? Not necessarily.
No.
Hey, if you can work it out, if the two sides can work it out, great. Because the two sides have to work it out.
Yep.
And but it does not mean that you don't open the season with a conference game.
No.
Because guess what part of the schedule is not out yet on dates? The conference schedule.
Sure.
The conference schedule, the Big Ten, there are 9 dates for the 2027 season that are not filled. You just have a list of teams. You know who you're playing and where. But Penn State, for example, has opened at Wisconsin. Penn State has opened at Purdue. Who's to say you don't open the season with a conference game if you can't move things around?
Absolutely.
And let's face it, I think Penn State would like to have the 2027 opening game of the season, right? If they can move a non-con game, that would be great. But they want the opening game of the 2027 season to be guess where?
Yeah.
Here. Because that's when the stadium is complete.
Absolutely.
Okay, that's the opener of what is going to be the Palace. So I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah. Don't discount.
No.
I mean, is it possible they can move everything up a week? Sure it is. Of course it is. Is it, if certain schools are locked in as to what their schedule is? Because everybody is going to have to move anyway.
Right.
To play opening week anyway. Right?
Yeah.
If you have to sit there and look at, and there's a problem logistically with people moving, that day can still be filled by a conference game.
Absolutely. Yeah. And the other part of it is you're also, giving the flexibility now with that to add that extra bye week in as well.
Well, that's what you're doing. The whole point is
the second.
Everybody's going to get two bye weeks.
Buys. Yeah. And again, it opens up flexibility as well to expand the playoff,
right,
which I think is probably going to happen at some point here soon.
Well, the flexibility to expand the playoff has nothing to do with this. This has nothing to do with it. You're still ending Thanksgiving weekend.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not like you're ending a week before, like the Big Ten used to finish the season before
Thanksgiving.
Yeah. Then they got to push back where they're playing Thanksgiving weekend. So that part isn't changing. It's the conference championship games.
Yeah,
eliminating those.
Expands. Absolutely.
Would then open the door to playing that weekend and just getting right into it and getting going with it and having the first 2 weeks of the playoff be home games. And that's what they're looking at. But now let's see, this particular year, okay, this is the part that about opening with a conference game at home that would make me uncomfortable because it's an odd year.
Yep.
Well, what does that mean? Well, what it means is that's the year where Penn State has 4 conference home games and not 5, which means after you play that opening game, you have 8 more conference games to go,
road,
and 3 of them are at home and 5 are on the road. Just thought I'd bring that up. I'm just trying to lay that out for you. So, but since you brought it up, I mean, you'll bring up anything to get away from the GoFundMe page on your haircut.
That's right.
I mean, you're this close to like it getting to the floor.
No, mine doesn't. Mine just stops growing. It just goes like that. It doesn't go down.
Just kidding. But so now back to the, to me, even though they're separate entities, expansion, they're intertwined.
Absolutely.
Everybody is expanded. The NHL is expanded. They're at 16 out of 32. The NBA is expanded because of the play-in tournament. They're 20 out of 30.
Yeah.
Major League Baseball is what, 14? What is that? 12 out of 30. 12 out of 30. 12 out of 30. The NFL's 14 out of 32. Okay. So now you have this. 76 out of 365. That's a little bit less than 21%. College football's at 9% right now.
Yeah.
And if you go to 24, you're at 18%. I've been, well, you may have a team in there with 4 losses. I don't care. What do I care? I don't care.
No.
I mean, okay, stop setting ridiculous bars. For goodness sakes, when the Giants won the Super Bowl, who complained about the fact that they were, 9-7 when they got in?
Yeah.
They were 9-7. They were a 6th seed.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
7-9 Seahawks beat the Saints.
Yeah. But I'm talking about teams that made the Giants won
the Super Bowl. Yeah,
they won the Super Bowl. Yeah. They beat the Patriots.
Steelers had to win 5 straight to get in 2006 to win it all.
Yeah.
Just to get in the playoffs.
Right.
They had to win
Again,
5 straight.
Just getting in.
Yeah.
Just getting in. The St. Louis Blues were in last place in the NHL, fired their coach in 2019, came all the way back, got into the playoffs, went all the way through, and guess what? In the 7th deciding game in Boston, they won.
Yeah. Same with the Nationals. Nationals got off to a terrible start the year they won it.
Yeah. In fact, the Nationals and the Astros is something I thought was almost impossible. Every single game in a 7-game series was won by the road team.
Team won. Yeah.
Like, what? But, hey, you don't often have any more scenarios where the Dodgers do what they did. And even then they had to fight in 7 games to win the World Series over Toronto with the best record in baseball.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen that often anymore. It's just getting in and who's hot at the time. It's all about competition, the excitement of it. I mean, my goodness, you're a Philadelphia 76ers fan. You had to be thrilled by what you saw last night. They went into Boston. Everybody had given up on them, and they beat the Celtics, and they're going back to Philadelphia. Okay? It's okay. It's everybody starts out just like they start the regular season, 0-0. Okay, why do games play out the way they do? Every game I have broadcast in my career, every single one has had something in common. They've all started out nothing. Right? And then you see how it plays out. Mistakes that you make, discipline, bad matchups, good matchups. Okay? We spend days analyzing all this stuff all the time. Days and days and days. Lots of talk. I'm not sure what certain fans find it more enjoyable, the talk part of the game. Sometimes I'm not sure. Right? What's more exciting to some fans? I'm talking about some. What's more exciting to some fans these days? The portal? Okay? Or the games? like the putting the pieces together to put the team together. Right? I think there's a segment of fans that find the daily excitement of that sometimes more exciting than the games. Oh, they're playing Marshall. I don't care. Right. But boy, you talk about the portal on January 8th. Hey, dude. They're all, hey, all right. They're all excited about it. Game with Marshall. It's a game they should win. Yeah, the other day I was on with Roy Philpott and E.J. Manuel. What's today? Wednesday. So I was on Monday. And, they were talking about Penn State's schedule. Yeah, so you know how I think about things. I mean, to me, like, go out, like every game to me is a separate entity unto itself. Now, am I smart enough to know that playing a game against USC has got more juice to it? Of course. Right? I mean, I'm not that much in a cave.
Right.
But I also know that you can't play that game September 5th. But they were talking about the early part of the schedule, and so you kind of roll with it because I know what they're doing. I mean, it's a national talk show, for goodness sake. So I understand. Right? If I'm in their shoes, I'm doing the exact same thing. Right? So I talked about what that early part of the schedule means. I said, look, Matt Campbell, when he gets, because they think they mentioned USC was the game that everything was leading into.
Yeah.
And I said, look, the bottom line is that I said when Matt Campbell gets to the USC game, he'll have 5 games under his belt at that point, which will give him an excellent read about what he has, what he's good at, and what deficiency he may have to mask. I said, as of right now, you're not sure. I said, every coach across the country, including Ryan Day, including Curt Cignetti, right? They may feel good about what they have. I said, but you have to blend all your parts together because you have parts from all over the place across the board because of the transfer portal. Everybody has hit it so hard. Losses in the portal, gains in the portal. But how do you make things fit? How do you make things fit in the locker room? How do you make things fit in the practice field? How do you make it fit in the game? There's more to it because remember, when you are getting players out of the portal, you are also inheriting their habits. And say it's a junior that you bring in. You bring in a junior. They already have some habits they've already started to establish in their freshman, sophomore years, or their redshirt freshman, sophomore year, whatever it may be, right? And sometimes those habits don't quite jive with the habits you're trying to put out there. You see it in basketball all the time. Hey, I say, I've always been a great offensive player. Well, I need you to play defense. Oh, yeah. Right. And all of a sudden you realize that the guy you brought in only plays defense because the rules state you have to. It's like, okay. So this is the challenge for every coach across the country. But as for the expansion of the tournament, I would vote no.
I would have to. Yep.
But in the end, they're going to go to 76. Well, guess what? That'll be the new norm. It hasn't been always 68. My goodness, I can remember when it was 24, 18, whatever, 24. I remember it was 24. I mean, there weren't that many teams in it. I mean, when UCLA won it, there weren't that many teams in it. And guess what? When UCLA was winning championships for a good period of time, only the conference champions made it in. I mean, why do you think Maryland had one great team after another? Lefty Driesell, we want to be the UCLA of the East. Guess what he couldn't do? He couldn't win the ACC tournament, thus he couldn't get in. There were only the conference champion got in. In the Big Ten, it was the regular season champ. That's the way it used to be. Now, we just went through a particular year where the conference regular season champ and the runner-up in the tournament won the national championship. Right?
Yeah.
Purdue won the Big Ten tournament.
Yeah.
In fact, won it convincingly. Michigan won the regular season. Yeah. So, I mean, one year in Alabama in football, for goodness sakes,
didn't win the SEC at all.
Lost
to LSU and then beat them in the title game.
Okay, I mean, that's how they got there. They didn't even win their division. LSU won the division.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't win the division. They didn't win the conference championship, but they won the national title. Hear anybody complain about it? What's going to happen with this? A year from now, all the complaints are going to disappear. It's going to be considered to be the norm. I mean, do you hear anybody complaining about the NFL playoffs having a seventh team from the AFC and NFC?
No.
And that seventh team has not been competitive yet.
No, not yet.
At some point, there'll be a seven that beats it too. But it hasn't happened yet.
Yeah. Last year was the closest it came.
Yeah.
With the Packers.
Yeah. But that's been about it.
Yep.
And the Packers at that point didn't have Micah Parsons, and I mean they were all banged up. So, but at some point it will happen where a seven's going to win, and there'll be maybe a year of both sevens win. Just hasn't happened yet. But you don't hear a complaint about them being in. People are like, "Hey, it's the NFL playoffs. The Packers are playing."
Yeah, absolutely.
And in this particular year, you would have had, for example, Auburn would have made it. They won the NIT. Auburn would have made it. Indiana would have made it. So you're talking automatically two brand names. It's an 18 win. It's an 18 and 14 Indiana team. I got it. But the brand name of Indiana being in it would have given whatever region they were in more juice.
The other thing it's doing also, not from a college perspective just yet, the NFL has mastered it more than anybody at this point. It's making that final week before you enter playoffs or tournament play exciting, a lot more exciting.
Yeah.
And that's where I think that you're also, with the addition of another team or more, that's where you're adding the excitement on a week where you were struggling to find that maybe 5-6 years ago.
Wow. Yeah, I agree. Well, it was a lot of fun. I mean, I realized I could tell right away that you feel you're in deep trouble with the audience based on your shirt choice today. You kind of felt you could sway patriotic Americans in your favor. Yeah.
All have to celebrate 250 together.
I've got a baseball game that day in Williamsport at 1 o'clock, and then I'll be back.
Yeah.
Then I'll be back. I like doing baseball on the 4th of July.
Yeah, it's special. It has always been. There's always something special. I think in two days, really. Well, 3. I guess you add Labor Day to it as well. But 3 holidays are special to me when it comes to, I'd say 2 for baseball. Labor Day, you're more into football season. But 4th of July and then Memorial Day, you always have that, several games on.
Yeah, I mean,
you're with the family. You're
but
grilling.
now this is the one particular year where, like the Spikes only have one, and that's the 4th of July, and they don't want to do it here because of Fourth Fest.
Yeah,
right. Which is, I understand that. That's fine.
Sure.
Because they need the ballpark for Fourth Fest, so they'll play the game up at Williamsport. But it's going to be like a 1:05 game. I mean, I'll be back by 5:30 at the latest. Just drive back and. And then we all get it's a 3-day weekend, for goodness sakes. Right? Which some people in the building try to stretch to 4, 5, 6. I mean,
that's right.
At least you admit it. All right.